That moves us on now to our guest speaker. He's no stranger to any of you. And one thing I can say on him, he's been a very good friend to the National Graves Association down the years. So please welcome North Belfast MLA, Gerry Kelly.
A hard job as a camaraderie had. A sana more does a van show I glory sleven you or last a real show. Because a sphere last a real the Harvard Goldmudge Crinny Hen Shaw, a Kivney or a Furdox Namra, a Hui a Macker Donach Nakaska, August last year China or Footna Cheer, Knee Blainus Naka o him. Easter week 1916 inspired generations of Irish Republicans, but also peoples throughout the world who rose up against the tyranny of colonial rule, imperialism and oppression. And it's a fire still burning bright in the heart of every Irish Republican today. I want to welcome you all here, especially the families of our fallen comrades who suffered so much personal loss and grief in our long struggle. I also want to pay tribute to the bravery, the leadership and the commitment of the IRA of this generation who fought in the streets of our towns and in the highways, byways and fields of our countryside. If courage was the measure of success, then Ireland would have had her freedom long ago. Volunteers in the Irish Republican Army knew that military action alone could not win freedom. They knew that our opponents and enemies had to be faced up to in every sphere of life. This was done in the civil rights movement, fighting discrimination and unemployment, in learning and fighting to protect the Irish language and our culture, in creating jobs and building communities, or as a last resort, taking up arms. Armed struggle is not a philosophy or ideology in itself. It must be a decision of last resort in the absence of any other avenue to achieve justice, equality and freedom. And it has to be understood and supported by the community seeking its freedom. So what can I say, or what can be said about these volunteers who paid the supreme sacrifice? I think it's important to say they were ordinary people with families and friends who they loved and who loved them. They could have made different choices, lived a quiet life and moved away from their community. That was not their way. Their choice was to stay and fight for those they loved and respected. And what bonded them together was a profound love of Ireland and its people. What made these ordinary men and women extraordinary was their vision of a new Ireland based on freedom and equality. They forfeited their own lives, too often young lives, and their liberty for that vision, and so that others could live in freedom. They led from the front, and because of this willingness to lead, we lost some of our best leaders. And there are turning points in every nation's history. And the 1916 Easter Rising had a global effect which has inspired, as Liam said earlier, freedom-loving people around the world for almost 100 years. There have been other key events in our recent history, such as the popular uprising of 1969 against the Orange State, the terrible events of Bloody Sunday in 1972, and the hunger strikes of 1981. The IRA cessation of military activity in 1994, followed by the Good Friday Agreement of 98, and the IRA statement of 2005 that the war was over, were, I believe, also watersheds. All of them became milestones on the long road to achieve a united Ireland. Yet there is no miracle in a united Ireland. We have to prepare for it, and indeed, that is exactly what we have been doing. We're empowering the Assembly in the North, and we are the main opposition and only credible alternative to the present failed government in the South. Partition created two conservative states in this island. Both are the antithesis of the Republican principles of Wolfe Tone and the 1916 leaders. Their vision, the Republican vision, of a genuine republic governed in the interests of all its citizens is shared by an ever-growing number of people. Today, people across the island are suffering. Hundreds of thousands are struggling to make ends meet, and young people are emigrating in their droves. This is as a direct result of the unjust austerity policies of both Fianna Fáil and their successors in Fine Gael and Labour. And it is a mirror image of the British Tories. These parties are imposing eye-watering cuts to public services and working wages, while safeguarding their pals, the bankers and the wealthy. James Connolly wrote that the cause of Ireland is the cause of Labour, and the cause of Labour is the cause of Ireland, and they cannot be separated. These words are as relevant today as they were then when they were spoken. It is working people who are hit hardest by job losses on a daily basis. Austerity is anti-Republican, anti-people and anti-equality. But we are leading the political fight back against austerity and cuts. The magnitude of those Tory cuts is putting real pressure on public services, on school budgets, on health and on the community sector. And we entered the Stormont House, the recent Stormont House talks to protect the most vulnerable. We defended children with disabilities, adults with severe disabilities and the long-term sick. And we will continue to defend the most vulnerable in our society. And we will stand fast to protect frontline services. North and South, we oppose water charges. In the South, we oppose the property tax on ordinary households. And Sinn Féin put forward alternative budgets to deliver prosperity and equality and grow employment. And they were rejected by the other parties. It doesn't make sense to split an island nation of 6.4 million people into two separate competing economies. There is no question that as a nation we are stronger together than apart. We would be better off economically, socially and politically. More importantly, in a united Ireland we have the power to deliver hope over fear, opportunity over despair, and we can carve out a new future together. And Sinn Féin is different from other political parties, and we're proud of that fact. We are a party born in struggle, with our membership and elected representatives coming from the communities most under pressure from the deep economic crises, north and south. And that connection with our communities is the bedrock of our politics. The mandate we are seeking in the upcoming Westminster election is for equality and is against austerity. We want the economic levers to create and sustain growth. The Tories and some of the local parties, however, are seeking to continue with austerity policies which will cut our public services, destroy the welfare state and force citizens into deeper hardship. And this will be the battlefield in the time ahead. So let me spell it out clearly. Equality is a red line issue for Sinn Féin, and we will not move back from it. We seek an inclusive, united Ireland, and Unionists should be assured that Republicans are totally committed to equality and opposed to all forms of discrimination. That is equality for everybody. That requires increased dialogue and engagement. It means setting aside assumptions about Unionists and listening to what they have to say. It also means all of us accepting that we are part of an intercultural society and that there are many different minority voices out there that we must listen to. There is responsibility too on all of us to work towards reconciliation. Now, the British government needs to acknowledge its role as a protagonist in the conflict and the reality of more than 1,000 deaths through collusion and British state violence when dealing with the important issue of victims. There has to be equality of treatment for all victims and survivors, whether it is from state violence and collusion or from any other combatant force. That is the basis upon which I and other members of Sinn Féin discuss the difficult issues of our collective past. We believe through the Stormont House Agreement we have achieved the architecture to deal with the issues of truth and justice with equality at its core. And we will continue to stand with the victims in their campaign for the truth from whatever section of our community they come from. 100 years ago, at this time, the leaders of the Easter Rising were already preparing for 1916, and we are now preparing to celebrate the centenary. Some elements in the media and some of our political opponents have sought to criminalise our struggle and our party. They have always and will always fail in that quest. So on a personal note, I think I can speak for many thousands of Irish Republicans who came through the conflict when I say that we are proud of our time as volunteers in the Irish Republican Army. We are proud to have been political prisoners, and I'm equally honoured as a political activist to have been involved in peace and political negotiations and to be one of the many Sinn Féin members to be elected to represent our people. There are small groupings within the nationalist community opposed to the peace process and opposed to Sinn Féin. These groups have every right to disagree with our strategy, and we have sought to engage with them on this. But they do not have a right to carry out armed actions, the vast majority of which are directed against unarmed civilians in the name of Irish republicanism. These small groups are not the IRA. The Irish Republican Army fought a war against state combatant forces and fought it to a conclusion. The women and men we are remembering here today were not warmongers. They were proud Republican volunteers who took up arms against a massive military machine when there was no other option. Today, as a result of the efforts of these Republicans, there is a peaceful and democratic path to united Ireland. Now, I don't know, 99 years after the death of our 1916 martyrs, what they might have said if they had been standing here talking to us. Apart, of course, from the legacy of the written word and the proclamation which was read out on the steps of the GPO and earlier here today has stood the test of time, as Liam has said, on its relevance. I can't be sure what my friends and comrades who gave their lives in the latest phase of our struggle might say either, having known many of them. But this I do know, that those who survived them took up their mantle. Our duty, our commitment to them is to do the best we can in the times that we live in now. To state the obvious, this is not 1798 or 1916 or the 1960s or 70s or 80s. We must lead, but we must lead using methods suitable and workable to the 21st century, to the year we're in, 2015. And that is the onerous task our fallen comrades leave us with. Irish politics is undergoing its biggest shake-up since partition, and we are at the core of that change. There is much work to do, but we are in the countdown to a united Ireland. We believe that together we can make huge progress and truly transform society throughout Ireland. Sinn Féin now has 5 ministers, 5 MPs, 4 MEPs, 29 MLAs, 14 TDs, 3 senators and hundreds of councillors. It is the largest political party on the island of Ireland with 500,000 votes last year. And just think about that, because that's bigger than in 1918. Sinn Féin is the main opposition party in Leinster House and is in government in the north. We are the fastest growing movement in Ireland, and the message of equality, justice and Irish unity is being heard loud and clear right across the island. We are closer to our goal of a free, independent and united Ireland than ever before. We remain guided by the noble ideals of the 1916 leaders, but we struggle in the context of 2015. We are now in a phase of nation building, what Connolly called the reconquest of Ireland by the Irish people. That requires building the political clout to bring about fundamental change. So let us send out this political message. Not only have we not gone away, but we are getting stronger by the day. I came away from our recent RDS in Derry knowing that our future is in good hands after listening to a volume of young activists speaking with great clarity, dedication and enthusiasm. And one of our greatest strengths as a party is in our mix of generations. So allow me to finish by repeating that comment to all those standing at the final resting place of our fallen comrades and friends, whether it's in Milltown Cemetery here or wherever they may be. James Connolly, speaking at Wolfetone's graveside, said, "We who hold his principles believe that any movement which would successfully grapple with the problem of national freedom must draw its inspiration not from the moulding records of the past, but from the glowing hopes of the living present, the vast possibilities of the mighty future. A Harjog is a Comradiha. We are the living present, the young Republicans standing here with us today, of the mighty future. Gora mila mai agah be kencha go jockey our lad.
On the product! Hey, Ra! On the product! Scabagee!
So from all of us, it's God bless and safe home. Gora mila mai agah. Well, that's us sorted for this year. Thank God, it was a fantastic parade, great turnout, the weather held for us, and I hope it's a thing that it'll happen next year. Next year is going to be a fantastic year. Everybody, no matter where, what part of the country they're in, even our diaspora, if you can't make it to Belfast, which I would like you all to do, but if you can't, then please take part in it. Show your support for the men and women from 1916 right through that died, that gave their lives for the cause of Irish freedom. It's important, it's a massive anniversary, and everybody should take part in it. It doesn't matter how much you can do, it doesn't matter how little you can do. Just be part of it and be proud of it. Gora mila mai agah.